Just when you thought things can get any worse. It's your granny wants you, darling. Enough of that. Tomorrow, June 29th, on Saturday, we are having Saturn retrograde in the sign of Pisces at 19 degrees. Isn't that funny? Because Saturday is Saturn's day. You hear that? You see what it's saying? Saturday was named after Saturn. This is a day that we're not supposed to labor, but we're laboring anyway. We have obligations on Saturday. Some of us have to work on Saturday. Saturn is retrograde June 29th through November 15th. Every year, Saturn retrogrades for 4.5 months, between 6 to 7 degrees. And what happens during this time, that's when karma starts to sort itself out, okay? It is a time of reaping what you have sown. It questions your responsibility. It questions your karma, your personal discipline. It's a time of limitation, restriction, anxiety, even self-doubt and fear, which is a sucky time, but I'm Saturn dominant, so if I can live through it, everybody else can live through it. And I'm quite excited because I have Saturn retrograde in my birth chart, so I want to see how everybody else puts up with what I was naturally born with. So I want you to think back to the last time that Saturn was retrograde, which was June 17th through November 4th of last year, 2023. Think back and remember what things were learned or experienced. With Saturn retrograding in Pisces, it's a serious time to do some serious reflecting on where you've been, where you're going, what's missing. During this time, you cannot clock out. You must slow down and think. You must slow down and solve these problems, or else if you do not get with Saturn's program, Saturn can really discipline you and make your life harder. You make your life harder when you run from Saturn's lessons in that sign of Pisces. So when you're unable to dig deep, when you're unable to be more spiritual, when you're able to get to the bottom of things, when you're unable to dream, when you're unable to have compassion, when you're unable to look at things from a spiritual higher perspective, Saturn will make sure that you do. If you are not in alignment with your soul or your soul's purpose, Saturn will whip you around. Kind of like it did to me 2 weeks ago when it whipped the car that I was in around and nearly killed me. But you see, Saturn did that because Saturn's trying to shake me up and say, hey, Miss Mystic Taylor, you are supposed to be doing astrology. And if you don't do your life purpose of helping people through astrology or being a mini guru or guidance counselor, I'm gonna take your ass out of here. Okay, that was the wake-up call that Saturn gave to me. And this is 2 weeks before. In fact, it might even be a shadow of Saturn retrograde. These are the things that I've been putting up with. This will be, I'm sorry, quite a depressing time. You'll feel like you've taken 2 steps forward in the past year to take 2 steps back. And you know why that is? Because Saturn is asking you to take 2 steps back so that you can look at what you've done, whether that's what you've done in good ways or in bad ways or in ways that are mediocre. Saturn says you need to go and dig within yourself and see if you are personally ready to take on this other stage of your life. You see what I'm saying? Saturn's trying to help you in your life, in your spiritual life, because it's in the sign of Pisces. During this time, you also will be questioned about your soul's purpose, where you're going, a higher purpose around who you are. It's going to take your emotions for a tailspin. You're going to feel like sometimes there's not an easy way out. You're going to feel probably depressed, a little heavy. And because Pisces is deep, you can fall into deep depression. But the lesson of this is to look at the higher octaves of Pisces. It's for you to have faith. It's for you to dream. All right. But it's for you to take action behind it. In some cases, to surrender to the universe or God or whoever you believe in, surrendering to a higher spiritual power and purpose. You see the sun is shining, it's coming out now because What I'm saying is right. I'm making sense, okay? I'm speaking from the universe, all right? Channeling these messages. So during this time, you'll be tested spiritually. You will be tested psychologically, emotionally, okay? Creatively, you could be blocked. But Saturn is saying you need to discipline yourself. You need to zero down on what it is that you need in this moment, okay? Align with that. Meditate. Practice faith, okay? Believe in your miracles, but still work within restrictions. Okay, it's saying work without faith. It's saying faith without work, is dead faith. You got to put your pedal to the metal. Okay, this is a dark night of the soul era for all of us for the next 4.5 months. We're going to all be in a counselor's office or a psychiatrist's office getting counseling from the universe. Everybody's going to be going through it. I'm going to be going through it. In fact, I always go through it. Okay? You're going to be going through it. Your neighbors, everybody around you is going to be going through this dark night of the soul, this transformation, a spiritual transformation. You're going to be going through an inner glow up, and it's not going to look pretty for anyone. We're all going to be crying. We're all going to feel depressed. We're all going to feel limited, like there's nowhere else to go. But then on the other side, there could be some of us that are wiser who could say, you know, you're more than your circumstances. Or saying that you need to align with yourself first. Surrender to a higher power and say, you know what? I did all that I could do. I put work behind my faith. Now I'm going to let go and surrender. You're practicing now the law of detachment. You're practicing the law of attraction as well. But you are also balancing that with your will. That's the purpose of this Saturn in Pisces. And also, in order for you to feel any creativity, for you to get spiritual insights, you will have to discipline yourself. You will have to meditate. You will have to isolate yourself a little bit, but not isolate yourself to fall into patterns of self-sabotage or escapism, but allowing yourself to get into a quiet space in an area by yourself to receive divine messages, plans, creative ideas, spiritual insight, and ultimately inner healing so that you can have an outer transformation of life as well. You're also going to be looking at business from a creative standpoint. You're going to be saying, is this business for me? Am I meant to have a tie all the way up underneath my chin? Be at a job that doesn't appreciate me, that's spiritually inhabiting me, when I know from my higher self that I'm supposed to be doing something greater? Those type of things are going to be floating over all of our heads, just nagging at us saying, you know, you're better than your current job. I don't care. I don't give a damn how much it pays or how little it pays or if you're getting by. You know that you're supposed to be doing something greater, because we're all put on this planet to reach our highest potentials. Okay, so we're all going to glow up to become our higher selves, to this higher nirvana or whatever. You're also being asked, what have you been creating? Have you been creating to destroy? Have you put in the effort to create? Or were you too bogged down by your self-doubts and your fears to not create a damn thing? My personal problem. We might share those. Also, are you creating for material gain, or are you creating for energy exchange? What type of energy are you exchanging? What type of energy have you been exchanging? And Saturn is saying whatever you've been exchanging with somebody, you're going to get back tenfold. You know, so those bastards at my previous job who lied on me, get ready to suffer some terrible consequences. So I'm going to go ahead with the forecast for all 12 signs. So Aries, or anybody who's having Saturn in the 12th house, this is going to be a very isolated time for you, a time where you collect yourself and withdraw. You're also going to be confronting some fears, some hidden fears, and some self-undoing. What have you been doing or self-undoing that has led to self-sabotage? You know, the patterns that you're trying to escape from, but you subconsciously fall into. What are those? Aries or Saturn 12th houses, with Saturn transit 12th houses. You're going to be by yourself a little bit alone, facing some type of spiritual restrictions too. And you'll realize the reason why you're facing spiritual restrictions is because health-wise you're not doing so well. So when you're able to fix your physical health, because that's the opposite house, then you'll be able to attune yourself and fix your spiritual health, in which you could upgrade your soul or your spiritual man. This could also lead to psychological discipline. What do you need to stop engaging with that is unraveling you? What is it that you're secretly addicted to that you need to let go of? What secret do you have that you need to release so that you could have a clear conscious and subconscious? That right there is a lesson you'll also learn. Now, I know many of you Aries are very, very creative little rams, but you may face some some creative blockages, some spiritual blockages, and maybe this is a time where you're not dreaming as much, but it's okay, because when Saturn is in this house for the next 4.5 months, you'll learn how to tap into your spiritual man, to tap into meditation. Can you guys still see me just a little bit? All right, so if you are a Taurus or you have Saturn retrograding in your 11th house, you're reevaluating your goals and your dreams. You're reevaluating if they line up with who you currently are or where you currently want to go. You're reevaluating if they align to your soul's purpose, or if what you've been doing has been, the goals that you've had have been counteracting exactly where you need to go in your habits. You're becoming more serious in valuing discernment when it comes to choosing which groups to be a part of, what friendships that you hold dear, what goals and dreams you have, and you're learning when to tell certain things and when to keep certain things to yourself when it comes to you socializing. You're also reevaluating your social media presence, or how much time you spend on your social media. You're having a seriousness about your future and where you see yourself after this 4.5 months. You're using discernment and boundaries with friendships, groups, and associates, because you do realize the seriousness of where you need to be at life, where your soul needs to graduate to, so that you can reach your full potential as Taurus the bull, or as any other person who has Saturn retrograding in the 11th house. I do see that Saturn also poses like restrictions. So they could be restrictions in maybe making more friends. It could be restrictions in technology. Maybe your technology has the same old issues, or you're having the same old issues where old friends or old associates pop up from out of nowhere. And it's a testing period. It's a testing period to see if you're truly over those groups or that person. It's what I would call an opportunity of closure, to have a proper send-off of a friend that you once had, maybe a bad friend or a group or a clique that just wasn't for you. Maybe you need to settle the score. But Saturn is retrograde, so settle that score wisely. All right, for those who have Gemini or Gemini rising, or they have Saturn retrograding the 10th house. Saturn retrograde in your area of career and vocation and your public image has you thinking long and hard about how you want to be perceived to the world, or how you want to be perceived in like your career. Reevaluating your career goals. There could be themes around your careers that pops back up, or maybe the old boss comes and you're like, here he comes with his old issues. You can find yourself picking something back up that you've tucked away, that you know that your soul knows you're supposed to have a career in, like maybe being a yoga teacher, or being a spiritual leader, being a inspirational speaker or artist, or any of those good things that have to do with orating, because Geminis are very good orators and speakers and rappers and singers. And you can see yourself going back to that vocation that you had tucked away from the world and revisiting that and saying, maybe I want to be known as this artist. I want my art to speak for itself. I want my presence to speak for itself. I want my image to speak for itself. But Saturn is saying that we need to call you back in so we get the specifics on who you really want to be, how you really need to come across. Maybe you have been working your way towards that, but Saturn is saying, come back here. We need to perfect this. That way, when I go direct November 15th, all your ducks are in a row and you come out slaying. A Gemini, you could face restrictions on going somewhere career-wise, or you want to come across a certain way, but people can misinterpret you because Saturn will be in a very public house. So that's to be expected with this next 4.5 months. But I do know that you guys will be known for something special if you dig inside of yourself spiritually. Whatever position that you hold in your life, you'll be in alignment with it this time, after you get all the facts and information from Saturn for the next 4.5 months. So good luck to all of you guys who have Saturn retrograding in this 10th house. Cancer risings, or people who have Saturn retrograde in the 9th house, this will be a test of faith. You may be going back to an old belief system, religious system that you were raised in. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. You could be in a very, very shitty part of your life right now, in shitty situations. You can have legal matters just come up out of nowhere that you thought that you handled, but they're coming back from the past. And you're like, I just can't take all this piling up. I just cannot take it anymore. I don't know, is God failing me? Are my ancestors failing me? Is the universe failing me? What is going on? And you could be grabbing onto your faith, or you could be dismissing it. Saturn doesn't want you to do that. Saturn wants you to dig deeper and a purpose in why things around your life are happening. You have all this knowledge. Are you putting in the good works by using this knowledge? Are you going back to school or taking this course so that you could really benefit your life? Or are you wasting your own time? Do you believe and dream? Do you believe that you could get out of a bad situation? Do you believe that you can fly or something like that? And speaking of flying, there may be restrictions around your travel for like long distance travel. So I would say expect that, but don't get too frustrated because I warned you and those things happen. But just know, like, if you have a delay in travel plan, it's probably by fate, because Saturn is by fate sometimes. The 9th house, about chance. So maybe if you like miss a flight or whatever, you missed an opportunity for running into somebody that you should, getting into an accident or something like that. Delayed but not denied is Saturn saying. So if you're delayed, your flight's delayed or whatever, or you missed your passport, or you need to update your tags, update it, and just be grateful that you were not hurt in that process, I think. This position can also show that old teachers can come back in your life, or old gurus or mentors can come back in your life to help guide you in the next stage, or in these very messy, complicated stages of your life. Now, if it's a teacher that you don't like, then tell them to shove it, go fuck themselves. But if it's a teacher that you did like, or it's a mentor, take heed of all the knowledge, because you don't know if they'll be here 4.5 months later. Take advantage of all the things that you can learn. There will be restrictions around where you need to go, whether that's physically or mentally. Looking at a larger plan, Saturn will reveal with time what the big plans are. Leo are people who have Saturn retrograding through their 8th house. Debt, sex, taxes, all that, all those things from the past are coming back. Revisiting issues with those you shared deep and intimate bonds with. So maybe some intimate partners are coming back so that you could deal with these type of issues. Because Leo parties, but sometimes Leo parties to hide the pain. You have psychological traumas that are pushed to the forefront. There's no escaping that. This is the time for you to get rid of physical debt, psychological, and emotional debt. There's nothing like a wounded lion. There's no pride in shame. There's no pride in shame of the past, no pride in living in trauma. And what Saturn is doing is it's calling you back, Leo, or people who have Saturn retrograde in the 8th house. And it's saying, we need to fix these deep psychological problems and these issues, because they're wearing on you very thin and you have places to go. But not only that, it's attacking your heart, because you're ruled by your heart and your heart space. How can we get to a heart space or have a healthy heart if we're carrying wounds from the past? Psychological wounds then turn into physical wounds, heart palpitations, breathing problems, nightmares, psychological issues. And Saturn is saying that you deserve more. If you're going to be this regal person, you see yourself as a regal person or this leader, then you need to make sure that you're rid of all your trauma too, right? So kings and queens, there could be moments where you feel like you're hitting a wall, like you feel like you can't get in or out. You're going to be one of those people during this retrograde that feels like there's no hope. There's deep depression. I don't know where to go. But what I can say to you is take every moment with stride. Just every small moment with stride. You're strong. You don't have to look at a grand scope of things. Just focus on feeling good for that little small moment and working on healing that one thing. And then before you know it, you'll be healing the next thing. And then you'll be experiencing joy in this moment. And then you'll experience so many joys along your transformation and your healing that you would solve the majority of your problems. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them. Virgos. Okay, you're going to have Saturn retrograding in the 7th house. Saturn could be bringing back old associates, old people from your job, because it's Saturn, right? Old partners, family members. And this is a test for your one-on-one relationships, whether you could uphold boundaries, maintain boundaries, and discern which ones need boundaries, which ones are okay for you to open up to, and which people you need to cut off. Knowing what to share and what to hold back. You need to ask yourself, do you give too much to others to where you yourself are dissolving? That's what Saturn in Pisces retrograde is asking you. Are you giving so much of yourself that there's no more of yourself left? You are becoming dust. You're becoming a crumb because you are giving so much to people. You're so purposeful in people's lives. But are people purposeful in your life? Do people respect your time? The resources that you give them, do they respect your boundaries? Do they see you as a person who also hurts and bleeds and has their own responsibilities? Everybody comes to the Virgo to help fix and clean up things, right? To be the responsible one because they need your guidance, our guidance. But what happens when the person who guides needs guidance, or the person who guides needs a break from people, or the person who guides who has everybody trample on them? That's the test for us Virgos, is to see if we're really about it with those boundaries. When we see that old partner or we see that old associate, whether they treated us nice or not, situation calls for boundaries, then those boundaries need to be set up, come hell or high water, or you simply won't exist, or you'll explode. You know, Virgos, we keep everything in, then we explode, and then we just ghost you. Do those people want to be ghosted? Do you want to go out like that? No. You're learning to set up healthy boundaries, and you'll have test after test after test. And some people that you won't see anymore because you're cutting them off because you see how toxic they really are, and you realize that's why you set up boundaries in the first place, or you're realizing that boundaries should have been there a long time ago, or they should have just been deleted from your life. You know, not deleted off the earth, but you know what I mean. Now, for those who have Saturn retrograding in the 6th house or who are Libras, old habits die hard. Saturn retrograde here can bring up old habits, health issues that are coming back to you. Possibly you'll be in a battle with your health. It may be your emotional health for the next 4.5 months. I do see that Saturn retrograde in the 6th can bring back old co-workers or people who were involved in your daily life. And they could be the cause to your stress. Maybe there are things around your older jobs that are coming back up and you're like, I thought that I solved this issue. Why the hell is this coming back up? I thought we already solved the payment gap. I thought we already resolved the confrontation, what to do with the computers, the media, all of that. I thought that we were on a good term. But spiritually, you're not on good terms with these people. Some of these people are spiritually disturbed. And then they disturb your peace, and then you see yourself running to your therapist or your counselor because they're stressing you the F out, and it's affecting your psychological makeup. There's nothing wrong with seeing any type of doctor. A therapist, I don't like the term shrink, that's condescending. A podiatrist, hell, a brain doctor, there's nothing wrong with that. Libra needs all that at this time because health is wealth to you, Libra. And when it comes to your daily life, if you're not healthy, then who is? Saturn retrograde is reminding you to take care of yourself, but most importantly, psychologically and emotionally. It's not a time to escape or overwork. You could seriously be in some trouble if you neglect your health. Now, Scorpio, you'll have Saturn retrograde in that oh so fun-loving house, the 5th house, the area of life, fun, children, romance, dating, sex, games, gambling, your children's lives, early childhood. With Saturn retrograding in Pisces in your 5th house, is that you need to heal your inner child. Your inner child issues are affecting everybody around you, but most importantly, it's affecting you. It's affecting how, if you have children, how you raise your children. It's affecting how you relate to your partners romantically, how you view sex, the joys of life. Affecting your creativity, causing creative blockages. Creativity is connected to your inner child. See, if your inner child is not okay, then you're not okay. If your inner child doesn't feel joy, you don't feel joy. If your inner child is blocked and locked, then you won't be getting any creativity. You'll be creatively blocked. You won't be able to enjoy your children or any other joys of that house. You won't be able to enjoy yourself, the theater, music, dancing. In Scorpio, they have a hard childhood. Sometimes they have hard situations with their children, with their kids, with their lovers. Mainly it's because their inner child wound is still aching and it needs solved, it needs healing. There's not enough sex that can heal it. It's not enough drinking. I tried to drink it away. You know, there's not enough painting or whatever you could do with it. But unless you are really tapping into your inner child and taking time out and saying, hey, what's wrong with you? And digging back into those memories and saying, you know what happened to me? Then you're not really set free. So during this period for the next 4.5 months, spiritually, you need to set yourself free. You're meditating, which I know a lot of Scorpios do, or doing yoga, Do things that have to do with heart chakra and meditations that heal your inner child. I would suggest seeing a psychiatrist or counselor, someone who is licensed to help you deal with that stuff. Maybe some art therapy, because it's the 5th house. You got to have some fun. Healing doesn't have to be all dank and stuff. And there will be moments where life doesn't feel fun, where you feel responsibilities being in relationships, no matter if they're one-night stands, friends with benefit, lovers or children, or even your relationship to creativity in the arts. It may not feel as if you're having fun, but sometimes responsibility goes with those things. So it could also be a chance in which you need to grow up as well. Then we go ahead with Saturn retrograding the 4th house, or Sagittarius rising. With Saturn retrograde in the 4th house in those matters, you see that family issues begin to resurface again. Old emotions begin to resurface. Old issues you probably have with your garage or anything at home or your pipe. Anything with water around your home. Maybe it is the pipes or you need a new filter. You're going to see those issues popping up for the next 4.5 months. People that you haven't spoken to in your family pop up, or you pop up in their lives saying that you need some closure from that abusive so-and-so, or you need to really look at yourself in a deep emotional way and ask yourself why you run away from certain problems, or if you haven't properly grieved the death of a loved one, or maybe you could be grieving yourself but you don't know exactly where it's coming from. Or you, for many years, I know Sagittarius do this, they think they can outrun their problems, they think they can out-travel their problems. Read this book, write this, go to what do they call those things? TED Talks, and think that could just solve just anything. Go to retreats, and sometimes that works, but in this case Saturn is asking that you dig a little bit deeper, because there's something that you're missing with your family, with the home inside of you, with your emotions. Maybe you still have anger issues and they stem from your childhood. This transit could also be rough for you in terms of how you process these emotions. Some days you'll feel emotionally blocked or depressed, like what's the point of living? Sometimes the point of living is dealing with those heavy emotions so that you can feel alive again. I went through all of this shit, but I came out. And we know how you Sagittarius people get. You love to preach or just talk people's ears off the things that you've learned. But if you don't learn from the things that you teach, then you're a hypocrite. You don't want to be a hypocrite now, do you? Do you? Good luck. It's not going to be a very light transit for you. It's going to be very heavy, but just tap into that joy of yours. You don't have to practice toxic positivity, but just little joys for yourself along the way, like little treats for yourself. Those who have Saturn retrograding in the 3rd house, or who are Capricorn, you may have issues come up around siblings. Siblings from your past may come back up, brothers, sisters, cousins, and you're like, oh, why the hell are they back here? It's a karmic score that needs to be settled. They need your shoulder to cry on. They're going through something. You're going through something as well, mentally. It's a 3rd house rule, mentality and communication. You can feel like your throat chakra is blocked, or that you can't get your message across, and it's because you're blocked up here, your mind. There's some things in your past or some old thought patterns that are resurfacing that are not really good for you. Some negative self-talk. Maybe you feel like you can't think. Like there's so much on your mind, you feel paralyzed. So when you're mentally paralyzed, you feel like you're vocally paralyzed, like you can't communicate. You're kind of stuck in this negative cycle of negative thinking. We know Capricorn and Capricorn risings, you don't have these dark thoughts, and it's humorous at first, but you'll go through hell, when you turn that camera off or when you're by yourself. You're reevaluating how you think, how you communicate. You're learning who to share information with and who not to share information with. Healing communication issues. And you're also healing your car. You may have car trouble for the next 4.5 months. So please, because I was in a wreck recently, please get your tires checked out. Get your wheel, your gas, your oil, all of that checked out, your motor. Make sure that baby is functioning. And if you need to trade in that car, please trade in that car, because safety is everything. I feel that journaling will be very, very good for you. Sometimes when you're Earth, you don't even know how to communicate your feelings. You don't know what to feel. You feel stone cold. Get you a journal. Write down your thoughts, your feelings. It could be something goofy. You could just doodle in it, and before you know it, you'll have things that you needed to know about yourself on those pages. So please get a journal. Make sure that those babies are hidden, because we know that you guys like to hide your innermost emotions until someone is trusted. So Good luck on that. All right, my crazy Aquariuses, or people who have Saturn retrograded in the second house. You're going to be revisiting issues around self-worth. Do you feel worthy? Okay, did you read Jada Pinkett Smith's Worthy book? Do you feel that you're a valuable asset to not only others, but yourself? Who are you separate from other people? You're reevaluating what you value, what you have of yours, how you earn money, and it's connected to your self-worth. It's connected to your self-esteem. There are a lot of themes that go on. You know, Aquarius is very funny. They're very quick-witted. They have a silver tongue. They could lay you out with just talking. They could demolish you. But deep down inside, Aquarius, sometimes you feel broken, or you feel isolated, that you don't fit in, or that no one can understand your feelings, because sometimes you don't understand your feelings. And then that can lead to a low self-esteem. Then that leads to old patterns of spending habits, and it's all linked together, what you're worth and what you earn, unfortunately. During this time, you could have some financial setbacks for the next 4.5 months with Saturn retrograded here. You could be, thinking of selling things that no longer serve you, material things. You could be reaching for that old book called The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. Old spiritual objects that give you strength. Maybe you look in a book and you see this bookmark with a Bible verse or some type of proverb on it from old Chinese text or Indian text, and it gives you strength. You're learning who you are on a spiritual basis and that your value comes from your spirit. It comes from who you are inside. So it's going to be a very beautiful, very serious, and a very big learning experience for you, Aquarius, because you already have Pluto in that sign. It's retrograding, so I don't know how close it is to retrograding back into Pisces, but you're really going through a transformative time, and it's making sure that you know your value, your worth, your true identity, and who you're to become in the future. Now, last but definitely not least, you Pisces people, you'll have Saturn retrograded in your first house. So what does that mean? What you reap, you've sown. Okay, so if you are a Pisces rising or Pisces sun, and the past year you've done stuff to people or for people, it'll be blown back up in your face. If you did some shady shit, coming back towards you. If you've punched somebody in their teeth for having compassion for you, or you stabbed somebody in their back on a job because you felt insecure and you jumped to assumptions, your ass is getting that back tenfold for the next 4.5 months. Saturn will not spare you, but it will teach you. If you're a different type of Pisces than the ones that I have met, and you've done good deeds, expect good deeds. During this time, you're reevaluating who you are becoming, because Saturn will be in your sign for a couple more years. And Saturn is calling you back to say, are you really that leader? Are you ready to go to a next level of your life? Are you really that responsible to take on life the way you have been doing? It asks those type of questions. It asks you where you are mentally. You could be having a mental breakdown, and Saturn brings you all the way back here and says, we need to regroup. We need to fix these individual problems. You could also encounter problems not only emotionally, but physically. You can have a little strain in your back and in your joints and in your muscles, and especially your feet, because when you have combined Saturn and its body parts like the spine and the back and the skeleton muscles, and you have Pisces with the feet, you could have problems with your joints. You could stub your toe, or you can have an accident that involves your feet. And Saturn is saying, let's not only save your feet, but save your souls. Get it? Save your feet and your souls. Saturn wants to refine you to be that high priestess, prince, that princess, that guru, that guardian. Saturn's trying to refine you for these next 4.5 months so that you can become this artist, this wonderful piece of art to the world that you were meant to during this time period. But right now you need to regroup. You may have to go back to situations in which you need to resolve issues, because that's what's holding you back from becoming who you truly are meant to be. Some of those issues may involve Virgos, Virgo suns, risings, or moon, or people who provided a structure for you. But don't worry, we don't bite. I don't think. Some of us might. But you have to really, really get under our skin to do so. You really deserve it if we bit you. That's my forecast for all 12 signs on Saturn retrograde. This will be quite a heavy transit. It's a spiritual transformation that we're all collectively going through for the next 4.5 months, June 29th to November 15th. And I trust that we'll come back better people, wiser people, and more creative people and musically talented. Yeah. Why don't we discipline ourselves around our artistic traits? Because that's always fun.